up until now, as we've collected items on a level, so here we have 1 coin, and when we go to our other level, our values are reset and we have no coins collected. Similarly, I'll have a barrel here. Pick up a barrel. So I have a barrel and a coin. You can grab another barrel. So 2 barrels, 1 coin, 95% health. And then when I start on the next level, everything is reinitialized to 0. That's because each time a level starts, we spawn the player character. And every time the player character spawns, those variables are initialized to their starting values, which was 100 for health, 0 and 0 for the barrels and coins. So we need to store those values in an object that sort of persists across different levels, and it isn't spawned or started each time. And one such item is the game instance. So we're going to create a game instance and store the variables in the game instance, and we simply have to copy the variables in and out of the game instance object, in and out to the player object at the start and stop of a level. So just before the player leaves the level and right when the player arrives. So first thing we need to do is create the game instance object. So I'm going to come up to content, my content. I'm going to right click and say blueprint class, all classes, and we're just going to search for game instance. And we're going to take the top main game instance object here, say select, creates a default object called blueprint here. I'm going to call it my super game instance. So this is a game instance or a blueprint object like any of the blueprints that we've been using so far. And if I double click on it, we'll open up the blueprint editor and there's an event graph, and we can do a lot with this game instance. For now, we're simply going to store a couple of variables in it. So we're going to go in the variables tab, and we're going to have a variable for coins, and it's not going to be Boolean, it'll be an integer. Then we'll have another one for barrels, it's an integer, and we'll have another one for health, and you may recall health was a float, so we'll set this value to float here as well. So I'm going to compile it and save it. And now we've got a game instance object called my super game instance object, and it has those 3 variables in it. I'm going to close the window here. Now we need to tell our game to use this game instance. So I'm going back into projects and settings where we had set the levels before. And on this modes and levels, we can scroll down through here and look for the game instance. And you'll see down here at the bottom, game instance. The game instance class that's being used is the default game instance. And if we choose from the highlight, or choose from the drop down, we can see here is my super game instance. So now I've told the game to use our new instance, which is just a child or inherited or a child version of the master one. So I'm going to say save all here. And now my game is running the my super game instance, and I have access to those variables. So first thing we want to do is think about, when does this player leave the level? Well, the player leaves the level when they overlap on our transporter pad, and that's done in the blueprint, level blueprint. So let's open the level blueprint and see the code for when they leave. So here, transport, misspelled, so transport to another level. So what we want to do here is, just before they go off to the other level, we're going to want to set those variables into that new object. So I'm going to make these a little smaller to give me some room. I'm going to drag out the open level here, and we're going to break this link. And what we want to do is drag out from here, and we're going to cast to the third person player or character. We'll get the current player character. Now, as this third person character, we're going to get the value for barrels. So I want to get the number of barrels hit. Get the coins collected. And get their health. So we've read these values from the player object, and now we're going to want to write them into the GameInstance object. So we're going to drag out here and cast to my super GameInstance. And as it's my super GameInstance, we're going to need to get the running GameInstance. So get GameInstance. Now, as the my super GameInstance object, we want to set the barrels. Oops. I mistakenly pressed get there. So I want to do a set barrels. Also going to do a set coins. And we're going to do a set health. So we're just going to clean these up a little bit. And we need, after we cast to the GameInstance, we need to set the barrels, or set the barrels. Now we're going to set the coins, and we're going to set the health. And we need to take the values that we retrieved from the player object for barrels, coins, and health. So this reads the reads player object variables, stores players score in GameInstance object. And then once that's done, we want to head off to the other layer. So we're connecting up the open other level. Compile it. We've got no errors here. Now the other thing that we have to do, this, when the player leaves the level, this takes the player's variables or values and stores them in the object. We also have to read them back when they arrive on this level. So on the event begin play, we need to add. So I'm going to move this out of the way, the boss key. I'll drag this up a little bit. And on event begin play, we need to do the reverse. We need to read the GameInstance object variables and then store them into the player. So we're going to drag out from here, and we're going to cast to my super GameInstance. We'll get the running instance. As the GameInstance, we're going to get the coins here, barrels, and health. So this is the opposite of what we just did, in that we're getting them out of the GameInstance object, and now we're going to store them into third-person character. Cast to third-person character. Get the current player character. Okay, as the third-person character, we want to set barrels. We want to set coins. And we want to set health. And we're going to connect the barrels to barrels here. coins and health. We need to connect the execution pins. And this should read coins, barrels, and health from GameInstance Object and store in player. So this is how the player retains its values from one to the next. Now, I need to do this on every level they go into or come out of. So I'm going to highlight this block of code that we just put in here, because it's going to be pretty much the same on the next level. So Control C to copy it. I've compiled and saved it. I'm going to close here. We'll go to third person maps, and we're going to switch to the third person map. We're going to open this level's blueprint, and we need to put that code for arrival into this section here. And at some point we're going to want to clean up some of these tests that we did for the Hello World, but I'm just leaving them in there for now. I'm going to paste this in over here. And this is the code that does our sets our variables. So I'm going to come up here, add a new pin, and we're going to connect it here, and then I'm going to have to so I just moved it over here out of the way a little bit. So now this block of code runs when the player arrives, much the way it did for on the other level. And now we need to, when they leave this level, store those values. So I'm going to save and compile this, close this, and I can either recreate it, or we can go back to our My Map level, open its level blueprint, and highlight these two pieces of code, or blocks of code that we commented. Control C, close this, come back to here, reopen the level blueprint. I'm going to drag out the open level node, break the link on it, and we're going to paste in the code, Control V, that we had. So now when the player leaves this level, it should do all the play sound, play the explosion, wait, and then it's going to read the player object scores, transfer them into the GameInstance object, then it's going to open that level. So compile, I'm going to close it, don't need it open right now. And now if we play this level, we're playing this level and it's stopping automatically because in our player blueprint, I have a piece of code here that is checking for the player's health and quitting if the health is 0. And when I initialized the health variable in our game instance, I forgot to set it to 100. So let's go back to content, my super game instance, and it's okay for coins and barrels to be initialized to 0, but health should be initialized to 100. And now if I play this level, the level starts, I've got 1 coin, or 1 barrel, so my health count here is 90. I have 2 barrels and 3 coins. And when I arrive here, my health is 90, and I have 2 barrels and 3 coins. Picking up a coin, I have 4 coins. Gonna go back to the other level. So I still have my 4 coins. So now I've got 5 coins and 3 barrels. So we've retained our score now across the different levels. Our health is being maintained, and our score is being maintained across the levels. All thanks to our My Super Game Instance object, where we stored the variables. Thank you.